All right. Hello, good morning. Hold on, let me get this thing going here. Live chat. Okay. Good morning. Hello, and welcome to yet another episode of Redstone, Lapis, Lazuli. I'm your host, Pogokiro. And let's begin, shall we? Don't crash. Check this out. It works so much better now. It doesn't crash. It just crashed. It worked before. I think only when I'm recording does it crash. Oh yes, good morning, good morning. You know, it's pretty warm here already. I heard on the news that a hurricane is forming in the Atlantic in July. It's still it's the last day of June. So it's the first time ever in history that a hurricane has formed in the Atlantic during June. So we're looking forward to a supercharged hurricane season. Oh yeah, check out my world, right? My world. So I added a second. I made a few changes. I added another row of crops. I got some livestock going. I planted some trees. I made the entrance a little nicer. Oh, look at the nicer entrance. Look at the nicer entrance, right? I have my mine shaft down to the depths, and then I'm gonna make a room up here to expand, because down here there's no room. There's no room here. Oh, and I expanded my chests from 2 to a bunch, because when you go down to the depths, it eats up your space. Raining. Let me show you what's down in the depths. Down in the depths. Down, 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 down. Oh, I should show you really quick. There's a shader version called Rethinking Voxels, and it's pretty cool, man. It looks for light sources. Oh wait a minute, you can see my frames per second. Hold on, options, video settings, extras, frames per second. Okay. Oh no, you can still see it. Okay. Alright. Thank you. Yeah, let's play Minecraft. So this is Rethinking Voxels, and I like the new version because it registers light sources, multiple light sources at once. So I have a shadow number 1. Ooh, shadow, me and my shadow. I've got it. And then I can have multiple shadows because I have multiple light sources. So it's pretty cool, man. I really dig it. It really adds to the atmosphere. Look at this. I can see my shadow as I go down the stairs. Pretty baller. I dig it. So here's my original mine shaft that I dug out. And I went that way a little bit, but I didn't find anything. And then so I went down deeper, deeper into the depths. And I ran into a cave. Now the neat thing about this cave is that you can you'll find these diamonds everywhere. I mean that's the thing I wanted to point out. You can find diamonds are literally everywhere down here. I just run into them without even trying. Light sources. So that's pretty cool. This is the latest version of Minecraft 1.21, and diamonds are pretty common once you get below a certain level. Okay, so there's one right there, da-da, and then there's one right there, da-da, and then as I was digging my stairs down to the lower depths, I ran into another one. I don't have steps. I need to go make steps. Do I have like a... Ooh, the lava's glowing. I don't have any steps with me. Here, I can make... Isn't there like a... No. Here, let me just make some steps real quick. So yeah, I wanted to... I didn't dig out this diamond. Because look at... Yay! This is a legit world, man. I'm not like... This is like legit survival. So it's my first diamonds. Ooh, look at my first diamonds. I need 5, exactly. I don't want to get more than 5. Because I want to, because I want to save the rest for when I have, what's it called? Fortune. Because why just get 1 diamond when you can get like 3? Like it's, I mean, they're a lot more common, but it's still not like, they're still not super common. So yeah, I want. Here's another one. See, they're like all over the place, man. So I'll put a torch there, so I don't forget that there's diamonds here. So I got my 3 diamonds, and then I went down here, and I was digging, just strip mining. That right? I'm telling you, the way that light acts in a game really adds things. But yeah, I ran into more diamonds. So like, diamonds are everywhere down here. Just gotta dig for them. So yeah, that's what I've been doing in Minecraft. It looks like not much, but it took a long time to do all this exploring and stuff and find all this stuff. And planting all the torches so that the monsters... Yeah, I had to fight monsters, right? It was all dark down here. So I had to fight monsters in order to get the torches in place. Wasn't all fun in games. So, yeah. A lot of work. And then I had to go looking for animals, because I had killed all the animals near me. So I had to go far away. I mean, not far, but, you know, some distance to go get these new ones. And then I had to go plant crops so that I could breed them and have a stable food source. Because right now I don't have like hardly any food. I went fishing for food. That's it. So let me make a diamond pickaxe. Ta-da! Yes, the diamond pickaxe. And then now I need to make an enchanting table. But I need obsidian for that. And to get obsidian, I need to find a lava source and then cover it with water. And I think I know where one is, but man, that's like a long trip. And you didn't come here to watch me play Minecraft. I mean, you might have, right? It's fun to watch me play Minecraft. But I suspect like this is more of a historic record of the things going on in the United States, because we are in historic times. These times are historic. The United States is facing down fascism right now, internal fascism. So in order to keep a straight head and to understand what's going on, I've been making these shows every week so as to not become overwhelmed by the fascism. Because fascism wants to break your sense of truth. Fascism, the enemy of fascism is truth. So in order for fascism to flourish, it needs to destroy the idea of truth and substitute it with the idea that the leader can tell you everything you need to know. And you can tell that this is the way it works, because if you talk to a Trump supporter, like, they're not able to really think of anything unless Donald Trump says, like, gives them the idea. I'm afraid that's going to collapse. dark. Okay, anyways. I should be careful because like I'm talking, and I don't know where I am. I need to like... Oh, there I am. Okay. I need to like stay safe because if I start talking, I'm gonna get lost and then not be able to find my way out. And I don't have much food, right? It's not like I have a shit ton of food anymore. Like this is a very, very early game in Minecraft. So let me get a hold of a little bit more food. Cook salmon. And let's just chill out here, right? In the rain. Walking in the rain. Yeah. Okay, I got a little... I also made like a little chimney for like cooking. Because like cooking right now requires coal. And I don't have any coal, right? I mean, the few bits of coal I have, I use for torches to light up the darkness. So that doesn't leave any coal left over to cook food. So to cook food, I have to use the campfire, but you can only cook 4 at a time, so it's pretty slow. Here, I have a bunch of steak. Yeah, there. So it's pretty slow, but at any rate, wow, a bunch of stuff has been going on, been happening. The protests against the U.S. involvement in Palestine have been ongoing, which is great, because the United States right now is providing weapons and intelligence to the Israeli state, and the Israeli state uses those weapons and intelligence to commit genocide against the Palestinian people so they can take their land and then sell it for themselves. And like, so basically they want to recreate the ethnic cleansing that the United States has already done like a century ago. Now, under enlightened liberalism, genocide is a bad idea. Like, you're not allowed to go kill people, use violence to take their land and create settler colonies that are ethno-states, de facto ethno-states. You're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to do it. So even though that's a bad thing, the United States has been doing it in Palestine by providing weapons and money and intelligence to the Israelis, and then the Israelis use those weapons, funding, and intelligence to commit genocide. They've killed, and the Israelis try to justify it by saying, oh, we're actually attacking the resistance group Hamas. And they're not saints. I'm not saying Hamas is a great group. Like, they're pretty bad in them themselves. Like, how do you have a democracy in Gaza if your only party is a terrorist resistance group? Like, it's pretty hard. They haven't had elections in there since like in over a decade. So it's kind of hard to call the rule of Hamas legitimate. At the same time, the way Israel has been conducting their operations has been basically genocide. They're killing massive numbers of innocent Palestinian people, women and children who have nothing to do with Hamas. They're just killing them, amputating their limbs, bombing their homes. There are no universities at all left in Gaza because Israel destroyed them all. I don't know if there's even any hospitals because Israel bombs the hospitals too and kidnaps all the doctors. So it's like it's a terrorist it's terrorism. And history is going to remember that the United States participated in genocide yet again. So of course that's offensive to people with an idea of civilization. They say genocide is uncivil, like it's barbaric to engage in genocide, and so they protest. Like, what are you gonna do? Like, of course you're gonna protest. So that's been going on, right? There have been protests going on. So for example, there was a synagogue in Los Angeles, and in this synagogue, they decided to do a land sale, sell land, and what this land is, what land are they selling? They're selling the land that was stolen from the Palestinian people. They kill the people that live there and then take their land and then sell it to settle. And like, check this out. Come and meet representatives of housing projects in all the best Anglo neighborhoods in Israel. So you can see they're appealing to white people. they're asking white people to come help them colonize Palestine. Like, what year is it? Like, I thought the Crusades were over. What's going on? Exactly, right? Why should the United States be involved in a genocide for land in Palestine? That's why there's protests. So there was a big protest at the synagogue in Los Angeles because the synagogue was the site of where they're selling land. So of course, but the Zionists showed up and became really, really violent. The Zionists show up and you can see they're beating up this guy. They're mobbing him, right? Look at that. Oh my God, right? Isn't that terrible? Look at this, dude. The Zionists are that's typical Zionism, right? Zionism is a terrorist ideology. Terrorist ideology requires violence. In order for them to steal land, they have to be violent and murder the people that live on the land. So check it out, dude. Zionists are literally violent people. That's the whole nature of Zionists, is to be violent. And they have the support of the state. Because after the Palestinian protesters were attacked by the Zionist mob, President Biden came out in defense of the Zionists and said, hey, protesters, you're not allowed to protest against genocide. That's what Joe Biden said. So that's that kind of sucks for Joe Biden, right? He's by default he's pro genocide. Here, keep it going. Right? Like, look at that. Like, what's going on here? Like, look at that genocidal mob. Right? Zionists are genocide. The state of Israel is a terrorist state. Look at the... So, yeah. So, number one, Zionists host a Palestinian land theft event in a synagogue. Number two, Zionists claim anti-land theft protesters are anti-Semitic. Number three, Zionists attack the protesters, mace them, and get the cops on them. Number four, politicians then condemn anti-Semitism and posts reaffirm misinformation. So Joe Biden came in after the Zionists tried to sell stolen land, and condemned the people protesting the sale of stolen land as being anti-Semitic. So in a way, Joe Biden himself is anti-Semitic, because Joe Biden is saying that it's part of the Jewish identity to commit genocide. Why would Joe Biden say that it's part of Jewish identity to commit genocide? Like, Israel has nothing to do with Jewish people. Israel and Jewish people are separate things. But Joe Biden comes along and says, no. Actually, genocide is part of Jewish identity. So if you protest genocide, you're protesting Jewish identity. Which is wild. Why would Joe Biden say that? Like, he must be anti-Semitic. He must hate Jewish people, Joe Biden, to be saying that it's part of their identity to be genocidal. So that's one of Joe Biden's got problems. One of the problems that Joe Biden has is that he identifies with genocide and is anti-Semitic. That's a problem. The other problem is that he shared the stage with Donald Trump at an event designed to help Donald Trump. So, as you know, there was recently a debate, nationalized, televised debate between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. However, the debate was structured in such a way to benefit Donald Trump. He was able He was given a platform for 90 minutes to lie his ass off. Just lie, lie, lie. And nobody would fact check him except for Joe Biden, who didn't have enough of time to fact check him because Donald Trump unleashed a fire hose of lies. It was literally a fire hose of lies. This tactic is well known in the debate community. It's called the Gish Gallop. The Gish Gallop. The idea of the Gish Gallop is to present so many wrong arguments so quickly that you overwhelm your opponent so that your opponent can't respond. Now, Joe Biden was not aided by the fact that his voice is like raspy. I could barely hear him. Like, I could barely understand and hear Joe Biden. Whereas Donald Trump was very loud and brash with his lies. His lies were very, very loud. So the presentation was, do you take a raspy old man who tells the truth, or do you take a bold liar who speaks lies very, very loudly? What do you prefer? You know who else was a great speaker at spreading lies? Hitler. Hitler was great at speaking and spreading and lies very, very loudly. So, and that's kind of what it comes down to. At this point, I mean, you look at the Supreme Court, I'm gonna get more coffee. The conservatives have controlled the Supreme Court, and their rulings have all been pretty fascist rulings. They took away the rights of women to their bodies. They took away the voting protections for Black Americans. They took away they annulled the 14th Amendment of the Constitution. Remember, the 14th Amendment of the Constitution states that people who commit insurrection against the United States are ineligible for office. And the Supreme Court said, yeah, no, we're getting rid of that amendment. And then tomorrow, Monday, the Supreme Court is going to finally announce if Donald Trump is king or not. Now, it doesn't matter what they say at this point. It doesn't matter. Because Donald Trump already won the point of his claim. His claim was never meant to actually win arguments. His claim was meant to delay the court case as long as possible. And his friends on the Supreme Court did exactly that for him. Not only did they wait, did they not give a ruling, they had to add on an extra day. So that they're supposed to be done in June, but they're gonna have to extend into July just to delay Donald Trump's court case as long as possible. Now, because the conservatives, at least two of them, Clarence Thomas and Sammy Alito, they both agree with Donald Trump that he's king, that they want to overthrow the United States. Both of them, they're both bribed. Clarence Thomas is very, very bribed. He's been bribed for a long time, and we know he's been bribed because there's a big fat list of all the bribes he's taken from billionaires. But beyond that, understand that Sammy Alito has been like putting out op-eds and flying the flags of insurrectionists. So you know where he stands already. He's not neutral in this. He's not. And Clarence Thomas, his wife, helped coordinate and participate in the January 6th insurrection to overthrow the United States. So you know already that a bunch of the conservative justices are already on board with overthrowing the country. Overthrowing democracy. They're already on board with it. But the thing is that you gotta ask, how are they gonna rule? Okay, so if they rule that Donald Trump is indeed king, that presidents are above the law, that means at that moment Joe Biden is above the law because Joe Biden is the president. So it seems to me unlikely that the Supreme Court would give Joe Biden that kind of power. The conservatives don't want to give Joe Biden the power of kingship. They want to give it to Donald Trump. So it doesn't seem likely that they're going to declare presidents above the law while Joe Biden is the president. At the same time, they're not going to, it's questionable if they will deny Donald Trump outright. That saying no, presidents are not above the law. Because that court, that could have been decided a long time ago. But remember, they wanted, the goal here is to delay his court case as long as possible. So, and that takes away an avenue of Donald Trump seizing power. So what seems to be the most likely outcome of the Supreme Court is that the conservatives, with their majority, are going to instead send it back to the lower courts to re-argue, to argue it again. They'll find some bullshit reason and say, you guys have to reconsider your stance. That way, it delays the court case even longer. The whole point is to delay the court case. And then, when the election happens, we can find out, well, who's going to be president? Is it going to be Joe Biden? If Joe Biden is the president, then the Supreme Court will rule, no, presidents are not above the law. If Donald Trump seizes power, then the Supreme Court will say, oh yeah, presidents are above the law. So the whole point is to delay as long as possible. Because justice delayed is justice denied. They understand that. Conservatives understand that. So they want to delay it as long as possible. Oh, and that's the other thing. The Supreme Court, threw out a big way that the January 6th insurrectionists were being charged with obstruction of justice. They threw that out. But it's not such a big deal. I mean, it kind of is a big deal because it shows that the conservatives but see, it's not all conservatives, right? One of the people on the side of saying to throw out the charges on January 6th, one of them was Judge Jackson. Why would Judge Jackson do that? Because Judge Jackson, remember, used to be a public defender. So she is very, very well aware of the way his government use their power to coerce people in court, and she's a defender. She wants to defend the public. So she agreed with the conservatives to limit the scope on which the government could charge the January 6th and Trump with obstruction of justice. But that's not the only way that those people were guilty. I think they did some special legal wrangling to charge them with other crimes if the obstruction of justice charge didn't stick. So I don't know if that's that significant, other than the court signaling that it wants to be lenient toward people who engage in insurrection, if they engage in insurrection for white supremacy. They're not going to be lenient if you're trying to engage in insurrection against the Confederate state, but they'll be lenient if you're trying to engage in insurrection against the United States. Oh, that's the other thing. I forgot. That's the important thing. So amongst the other rulings of the Supreme Court, one of the rulings the Supreme Court made was that it's legal to bribe people. That bribery is not really a crime. But the Supreme Court said there's a caveat. You can't just bribe people. You have to do it in a special way. If you say, hey, judge, I want you to rule a certain way on this case, and then you give them money before they rule, the Supreme Court says that's a bribe. The conservatives on the Supreme Court say that's a bribe. But the conservatives on the Supreme Court said if you give the payment after they made the decision, then it's not a bribe. So it's more like payment for services, which is legal. So the judge, so you can say, hey judge, I want you to rule a certain way on this court case. And if you give them money first, that's a bribe. But if you say, hey judge, I want you to rule a certain way on this court case, and if you rule this way, I will pay you. And then after the judge makes the ruling in the way the person wanted, then the person pays the money. The Supreme Court conservatives said that's not a bribe. Which is wild, right? That's crazy. Because what did that lead to? That leads to the Chevron decision. The Chevron decision was the big decision by big business that big business wanted. Big business didn't like being regulated by the federal government. The federal government has an army of experts and scientists who come up with the best way and best idea to do things. Or at least they study things to see what are the effects of certain actions. Like how do you like did you know that the rivers in the United States were so polluted because there were no regulations? They used to be really polluted, which meant that industries could just dump whatever chemicals and waste they wanted directly into the river. And that would kill all the fish, kill the wildlife. It would make people sick if they drank from it. It was like it was terrible. I think Hudson River in New York. I think it was New York. I'm not sure where. But it was so bad that the Hudson River, the river itself, caught on fire multiple times because companies would just dump their waste product directly into the river. So in order to address this, Congress created agencies. And those agencies, they delegated power to those agencies. Now, when this defense first happened, or when this thing first happened, when this court case first happened, Chevron versus I forget who. This happened in the 80s, like 40 years ago. And when it happened, it was a win for conservatives, for business groups, because the business groups had corrupted the agencies. So the agency made a bad ruling, and then they got sued. But the Supreme Court said no, agencies have the power to Congress delegated authority to the agencies to do certain things, so they're allowed to do it. So that was a win for big business back in the day. And then of course the government built its entire structure around regulatory structure around that court decision, because it's precedent, right? It's precedent. Precedent is supposed to have like special meaning in law, meaning once it's been settled, it's settled. You can't go back and change it without big change in information and rules and stuff. Well, so government built their entire regulatory structure based on the Chevron rule. Well, now years later, conservatives don't like that the federal government can regulate business still, even if because business is okay as long as they can control the agencies. But if they don't control the agencies, the federal agencies, then the federal agencies pass laws that limit the corporation's ability to make profit, either by making them take care of their waste, or not letting them exploit workers, or not letting them dump stuff in the rivers, or not letting them pollute the air, whatever. These things cost corporations money, so they don't like it. They don't want it. So they wanted to get rid of the ability of agencies to regulate. So they went to court again. And remember, they've been bribing Justice Thomas Alito, or Clarence Thomas, for years and years and years. That's why it's important that the Supreme Court said that it's okay to bribe people because their own members are being bribed all the time. And the perfect example of that is how they overturned Chevron. The Supreme Court decided 20 or 40 years later that actually we're going to overturn this precedent and say that only the court can regulate corporations, not these agencies, because the court has special knowledge, which is crazy. What do you mean the court has special knowledge? No, you don't. You don't have experts of science working for the court. You have law people. So it's not like the Supreme Court is going to suddenly spend a ton of money to hire a bunch of experts to sit on the court on the payroll of the judicial system just to give expert opinions. No, what they're going to do is listen to the lobbyists from the big business and then do whatever they want. So man, it sucks. It's really, really bad. I don't know how to describe to you how bad it is what the Supreme Court has done. They've gutted voting. I mean, yeah, dude, it's just been a horrible Supreme Court, and it's all made possible by Donald Trump. That's the thing. It was all made. I mean, it started with George W. Bush when he appointed what's his face, John Roberts, and John Roberts overturned campaign finance law to allow for dark money to flood our elections. That's why there's all this money in our elections now, because John Roberts said it's okay for anybody to put any amount of money into the political system, and you don't have to say where it came from. I don't know how to describe how evil are the Republicans. I don't know how to. I can't. I think the best way to describe it would be like the MAGA hat. You know, the red hat that MAGA like to wear. That's essentially a swastika now. It's essentially a swastika. Like a bunch of people are walking around with the swastikas on their foreheads now. It looks like a MAGA hat, but that MAGA hat is basically a swastika. It's saying that, hey guys, I'm a fascist, and I want to overthrow the United States. It's that bad. It's that bad. So, it's not like it's a secret, right? Donald Trump wants to get rid of democracy in the United States. He wants to get rid of voting. Because what does voting do? Voting gives the power to the people to check the government. But if Donald Trump has accrued power and concentrated the power of the government into his own hands, he doesn't want the people to check him. He wants to control the people totally. So Donald Trump wants to get rid of voting entirely. Now, he's not going to outright say it. Instead, he alludes to it. Now listen to what he says here.
Christians go to church, but they don't vote that much. Do you know the power you have if you would vote?
Dude, that's a lie. There's a whole thing about the conservative Christians, evangelical Christians who vote consistently for fascists. Conservative evangelicals are fascists, and they always vote they want to create an ethno-state. Conservative evangelicals are the ones who support the Zionist state of ethno-state of Israel. So, yeah, they have a lot of power. They vote in a block. They vote for fascism.
It wouldn't even be. So you got to get out and vote just this time.
So listen, you got to get out and vote, but just this time. Just this time.
I don't care. In 4 years, you don't have to vote, okay? In 4 years, don't vote. I don't care, but we'll have it all straightened out, so it'll be much different.
So do you understand? He said this time, I need your vote so I can take power. But if I take power, you won't have to vote ever again because we'll take care of it. In other words, there won't be another time you have to vote. Because once the fascists are in power, he's never going to leave. Remember what happened in the end of 2000. Once Donald Trump lost the election, he refused to leave office. He refused to leave. He had to be like... He would not leave. He tried to assemble a mob to overthrow the United States so that he wouldn't have to leave office. So Donald Trump is not planning on leaving power once he gets in. That's what he means when he says you don't have to vote again in 4 years. We'll take care of it. What he means is that I'm not leaving once I get into power. Your vote will be meaningless once I take power because we're not going to do democracy anymore. I mean, it's fucking clear, right? It's clear. He says it clearly himself. He says it right there. It's not like I'm making it up. He's telling you, don't worry about voting in 4 years because I'll take care of it.
Of course, then they'll come in again and they'll ruin it. We'll have to do this all over again. And then we'll come back and say, you have to go vote.
So what do you mean come in again and ruin it? So he doesn't, like, what the fuck is he talking about? You mean apply the rule of law? You mean defend democracy? Like, because he thinks that, oh, because the police were there to stop the violent mob on January 6th, they ruined it. They ruined what? His fascist takeover. That's what they ruined. That's what I mean when I say Donald Trump is a fascist. He's basically Hitler. Hitler was great at speaking polished lies, right? So Donald Trump is like a polished turd. He's a piece of shit, but it's a polished piece of shit. So that if you like shiny things, you'll ignore the fact that he's a piece of shit and just be like, oh, he's shiny. And unfortunately, a lot of Americans are that stupid, are so stupid that they'd rather take a shiny piece of shit than a dusty piece of truth. I mean, people want to say, like, I've been hearing things like Joe Biden needs to step aside. Joe Biden, like, coming from like a lot of people. Oh, Joe Biden needs to step down. That's the weirdest thing ever, dude. I don't understand that. Why is it that one bad debate performance is causing people to say that that Joe Biden should step down, while Donald Trump being convicted of a felony doesn't do anything? No one's asking Donald Trump to step down. I don't hear calls for Donald Trump to stop trying. And he's a convicted felon. So unless you don't believe in the American system of justice, like, I think that's what a lot of MAGATs are saying. A lot of MAGATs are saying that they don't actually believe in the American system of justice, and they don't actually believe in American laws, because they hold that Donald Trump, even though Donald Trump is a convicted felon, that he's blameless, and that they want to say that Joe Biden is a criminal, even though they don't have any proof and there's been no trial or anything, no charges, no indictments. They must not, so in essence, MAGATs are saying they don't believe in American justice. They don't believe in American laws. They don't believe in America, is what they're saying. Now, I hate that I have to defend Joe Biden, because Joe Biden is defending genocide. Joe Biden calls Jewish people genociders by saying it's anti-Semitic to protest against genocide. But even though I hate defending Joe Biden, it has to be done, because Donald Trump is just Hitler, is literally the rebirth of Hitler. He's very polished at his lying, and CNN gave Donald Trump all this time to lie on a national stage with no fact checking. He just lied. And again, if you liked polished turds, you're gonna love Donald Trump. So I understand this is a ship. This is an ocean ship, but it's on its side. It's not like normal. It's been put on its side because it's on the land. Gotta dig it out. But then my shovel breaks because I only have a stone shovel. The ship is on its side. That's what's up. The ship is on its side. So it'll take me a while to dig that out. To dig out the whole thing. So here's Donald Trump saying that he's going to overthrow the government again.
I had 63 million. I was told that if I get 63 million, we win.
You got told wrong, dude. Shut the fuck up, Donald Trump, you asshole. You got told wrong, you idiot.
Easily, that there's no way. John McLaughlin told me. A lot of people told me that.
Who cares? A lot of people lied to your face, but you're dumb. Donald Trump is fucking stupid.
But when they rig it or cheat, you know, there's not.
Who rigged and cheat? Who did that? You had 60 court cases. You had 60 court cases to prove your claims of lying and cheating, and you lost every single one of them. In other words, you're full of shit, dude. You're full of shit, Donald Trump. You're full of shit. You never proved cheating. You never proved it. You had 60 chances, and you never did it. Why do you keep saying this when you're proven wrong? You sound like an idiot. You sound like a moron. Only fucking morons are saying that that the election was rigged. Because you had 60 chances to prove it otherwise, and you failed every single time. Is it because you're just unable to do it, or is it because you're fucking lying and there was no rigged cheating or anything? It's because you fucking lie. But you keep repeating the lie, and idiots who have a cult of who are stuck in a cult of personality, just like with Hitler, they only get their reality from Donald Trump. So if Donald Trump says it, then it must be true. Even though Donald Trump is lying through his teeth.
63 million. I was told that if I get 63 million, we win easily.
But that's the problem. There was 71 million votes for Joe Biden. So whoever told you that 63 million was the magic number was lying to you. But Donald Trump Donald Trump is making the assumption that his followers are stupid. Donald Trump is saying, look, my people who follow me, they're dumb. They're stupid. All I have to do is lie to them and they'll believe me. So that's what he's doing. He's just lying. The magic number is not 63 million. The magic number is the most votes. I mean, technically it's the most electoral college votes, but we all know really it should be by the popular vote, not from the stupid electoral college. Like, the electoral college is the system by which the will of the people can be overturned. And that's the whole point of it, right? It's to make sure that the will of the people is not represented. Instead, you have to add on a layer of abstraction just to make another attack vector, so that you can overturn the will of the people if you configure the electoral college in a certain way. It's so stupid. The electoral college is such a stupid idea. It's such a stupid idea. We should really get rid of the electoral college system. But and the liberal states want to get rid of the electoral college system. But the states that are controlled by Confederates, they don't want to get rid of the electoral college system. Because if you get rid of the electoral college system, you give more power to the voters. And Confederates and fascists don't believe in democracy. They don't want the voters to have more power. They want to concentrate the power into the hands of the elite. So Donald Trump is wrong on multiple fronts. Number one, there is no magic number of popular votes you need to get in order to win. Number two, even if you get 63 million, if the other guy gets more votes, then the other guy wins. Like, are you stupid, Donald Trump? Or do you think your voters are stupid? I think he thinks the voters are stupid.
There's no way. John McLaughlin told me, a lot of people told me that. But when they rig it or cheat, you know, there's not.
That's bullshit, dude. You had 60 chances to prove that. You had 60 court cases to prove rigging or cheating, and you failed in every one because it didn't happen. It didn't happen, you fuck.
Not a lot you're going to do about that other than you have to stop it. Now we have to stop it.
Oh, what's that mean? Now we have to stop it. You mean like on January 6th, you have to overthrow the government again once you lose the election? Is that what you're saying? Yes, he is. Yes, he is. That's why I'm afraid that we're going to have a civil war in the United States. Because the American justice system was unable to hold accountable a rich white man. It was unable to do it. The American justice system isn't designed to hold to hold accountable rich white men. It's designed to hold accountable poor people of any color. It's not designed to restrain the rich. It's designed to restrain the poor, the American justice system. And that sucks. It's a sad truth. It's sad. Like, it shouldn't be that way, but that's the way it is. How do I know? Because Donald Trump tried to overthrow the government 4 years ago and now is running for president. And nobody could stop him except for the American people. The American institutions all failed. They all failed to stop him. I mean, he has a hearing coming up, right? He's a convicted felon now. He has to go to sentencing to see what kind of sentence he's going to receive for committing fraud. Now, the way the justice system is set up, Donald Trump is likely not going to go to jail. Donald Trump is likely going to get probation, which allows him to continue to spread lies and to poison the American society. Because the American justice system can't stop him. I mean, the judge could impose a jail sentence on Donald Trump, but to do so risks the wrath of Donald Trump's followers. Donald Trump created a shadow army. Donald Trump has a shadow army of fascists and racists who will do the violence that Donald Trump commands. Like, Donald Trump is like a mob boss in that he doesn't have to directly give commands. Instead, he gives insinuation. He gives hints. He alludes to what he wants. And if you understand what Donald Trump is alluding to, then you could follow it out and follow his commands. Like, if you know what the boss is saying, you can work for the boss. If you don't know what the boss is saying, you can't work for the boss, is what he's saying. So what do I mean that Donald Trump is like a mob boss? You know, things like, you know, you're gonna do what we want, or you're gonna end up wearing concrete galoshes. What does that mean? Concrete galoshes. What? Well, one way that the mafia used to kill people they didn't like was to kidnap them, force them into galoshes. Galoshes are like big rubber boots. Big, and they're used to like keep your feet dry in rain. They're big and they're like really pretty tall boots. And what the mob would do would be to fill those, to put the person in the galoshes, and then fill the galoshes with cement, and then let the cement harden. And then once the cement was hardened, they would take the person and throw that person into the river. And because the person's wearing stone galoshes, like, they can't swim, so they drown, and you'll never find the body. So, no, he doesn't say outright, clearly, that he wants to murder the person, but you know what he means. So Donald Trump is like a mob boss. He's saying that if he doesn't get if he's not treated the way that Donald Trump wants to be treated, he's going to send his shadow army to attack the people. That's why Donald Trump says so many attacks against the jurists and the judge and the prosecutors, because he's priming his shadow army to attack his enemies. So this right here, Donald Trump is telling you that when he loses the next election, he's going to send his shadow army to launch another attack. Now, it's not going to be like the last time with January 6th. The reason why January 6th was able to happen was because Donald Trump was in a position of power with the presidency. So he was able to keep to install his lackeys into key positions to make sure that the National Guard wasn't there to defend Congress. And he also had his lackeys inside of Congress, whose job was to delay the certification of the vote so that it would give time for the mob to invade the Capitol. And then that would delay the vote, the certification of the votes, long enough for his ally in the Supreme Court, Sammy Alito, to file an injunction to stop the counting, the certification of the vote. That way, they could kick the case to the Supreme Court, where the Supreme Court would rule in favor of Donald Trump to make him president again. That's what they did in the year 2000. They did the same thing in the year 2000. They didn't have to delay the certification of the vote. Instead, the guy in the key position was Jeb Bush. Jeb Bush was the governor of Florida and Florida was the state that had all the voting irregularities, quote quote, because of the bad ballot, their bad ballot design. And so they had to do recounts, but the recounts were taking time. So the Supreme Court said you had like a week to recount your votes, and if whatever votes you have counted in a week, that's it. So Florida was doing that, and one county, Miami-Dade, Florida, was doing the recount, and the recount was gonna be in the favor of Gore, and that was gonna throw the election to Al Gore. Al Gore was gonna be president. So Roger Stone understood this. So Roger Stone sent a mob to the office of Miami-Dade County, Florida, in order to stop them from counting the vote, which he did. And that because they weren't able to count the votes, that meant it went to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court ruled Republican 5-4, Republican versus Democrat, that the election should go to George W. Bush. So if you understand what happened in the year 2000, you can understand what the plan is for the year 2024. They're going to do this. They tried to do the same thing in 2020, but it didn't work out because Nancy Pelosi reconvened Congress the same day to certify the election before Alito could file an injunction. So they're going to do the same thing. So they can't do a mob this time. Instead, what they're going to do is try to do it via court cases. They have an army of lawyers to file all these court cases that will allege voter fraud. Except they don't have any proof of it. There's no proof of it. Just like they didn't have any proof of it in the year in 2020 when Donald Trump lost all his court cases. They don't have any proof this time. But the idea, again, remember, the goal is not to get a court victory. The goal is to delay the counting of the vote. Because if they can delay the counting of the vote, their buddy, Sammy Alito, is going to file an injunction which will send the whole thing up to the Supreme Court. And then the Supreme Court is going to overrule the election and select Donald Trump as the winner. That's their plan. I'm telling you right now. I'm telling you now. That's their plan. It's the same plan as the year 2000. It's the same plan in 2020. They're going to do it again. Because nothing happened to Donald Trump. Nothing happened to George W. Bush or Roger Stone. Nothing happened to them. The American justice system isn't any good at holding rich white men accountable. It's like it will totally smash little people. It will smash me or you if we ever get caught up in its gears. We will be ground up into nothingness. But if you're a rich white man, or you're supported by rich white men, the justice system can't hurt you. And like this goes back to the very foundation of the United States. Remember, our founding fathers were basically aristocrats. They were the American aristocracy. They didn't have titles, like they didn't have a king for nobility, but they felt themselves to be the elite, and so they designed the American government to cater to the elites. That's why that's why no one could vote unless you were white, number one, and number two, you own land. If you weren't white and you didn't own land, you couldn't vote, because the American founders thought you don't count. You don't count if you're not rich. You don't count if you're not an elite. Sure, we'll listen to the people, but ultimately the decision rests with the elite. That's why they created the Senate the way it is. The Senate is basically a version of the House of Lords. So like, yeah, it's kind of shitty, right? Like we are trying, like, now, right? We're in the future, and we have greater consciousness. So we're trying to create a system which is inclusive of all Americans, regardless of your race, creed, color, sexual orientation, economic status. None of that should matter, right? What should matter is that you're a human being. But that goes against the tenets of fascism. Fascism wants an elite. Fascism wants to concentrate power. Fascism doesn't believe in democracy. So that's what we're up against. We're trying to create a multiracial democracy, and that's never been done in the history of the world. We're trying to create something brand new. So of course there's going to be enemies. Like the entire enemy of history, all of history is filled with dictators who want it to go back to the old way, where they can concentrate power for themselves. And Donald Trump is just the latest iteration of that. Yeah, I would love it if the judge Merchan would imprison Donald Trump. It would be great, because it would strike a blow against Donald Trump's aura of invincibility. And like right now, Donald Trump has power because he has a cult of personality. A number of people only get their reality via Donald Trump. They can't. They have forsaken their own bodies in order to serve Donald Trump. But if Donald Trump is imprisoned, that might shake their idea of Donald Trump being a god king. They might get woken up by the fact that, oh look, Donald Trump is actually a criminal. Of course, Hitler went to prison too, right? And then after Hitler went to prison, he went out and won the election. So I don't know, right? There's a lot of good Germans out there. I say good Germans, but they're Americans. A lot of good Americans out there. And that's what's funny, right? That's what's funny. It's like these maggots, these fascists, on their face, on their surface, will be really, really nice to you. Like, right now, my mom is having like back problems, real bad back problems. Her back is like fucking gone, dude. It's blown out. She's been bending, like doing the whole bending over to scrub or mop or pick up things, like all her life. And it finally caught up with her, and her back is wrecked. And right now, she's in that stage before the surgery where she's in a lot of pain and can't really move. And she lives basically by herself. She's a caregiver for my brother, who's how do you say it? Intellectually disabled. He has an intellectual disability, my brother. So even though he's like 40-something years old, he's like, what, 40-something? Come on, he's like 44 or 45. He'll be 45 this year, I think. Even though he's 45 years old, he has the mind of an 8-year-old. And at the same time, my brother has a condition that his fine motor skills are just not there. He doesn't have fine motor skills. You know how I love to play video games? that requires a lot of fine motor. Really, not gross motor. Gross motor is like moving your whole arm. That's gross motor. Fine motor is like moving your fingers. It's as if my brother, the snow gloves you wear, you put on when it's cold outside, you put on big thick snow gloves to keep your hands warm. But when you do that, like, you can't really work a telephone, or you can't like do fine motor anymore because you're wearing these gigantic enormous gloves. It's as if those gloves are like forever taped to my brother's hands. Like, he can never take off the snow gloves. So my mom is the caregiver for my brother, and then her back got wrecked. So she's having a really, really hard time with things. And I live like 500 miles away. So it's not like I can just walk over there and like take care of things. And my sister lives there, but and her grandkids live there, but it's so disappointing. Anyways, so right now the only help she's really getting is from her neighbor, who like helps drive her to the doctor's appointments. Like, pretty nice, right? Nice of this neighbor to drive my mom to the doctor's appointments. And another neighbor is nice enough to snow blow. My mom bought a snow blower to help clear the driveway and the sidewalk, but she can't like operate herself, and she can't go out there and dig. So her next door neighbor is nice enough to take her snowblower and her gas, and then go ahead and like do all the do her sidewalk and her driveway for her with the snowblower. Right. So on the surface, these people look nice, right? My mom's white, so that's the other key. My mom's white, so and these neighbors are white too. So sure, right? On the surface, they're really nice people. However, once you get them in the ballot box, they will vote for the government to kill non-white people, to take away democracy. They're good Germans. I mean, good Americans. And why do I keep saying good Germans? Because that's a way. So in Nazi Germany, people always ask, how is it that the Nazis could take over an entire country? Weren't the people like at all concerned about Nazis? Yeah, that's where the first anti-fascists started. You know, the Antifa, anti-fascists? That's where they came from. They were the people who resisted the Nazis in Germany. Anti-fascists. Antifa were the people who resisted the Nazis in Germany. But a lot of people in Germany just went along with it. They were just being good Germans. They were just, they just went along with whatever was going on in order to not cause problems. They were good Germans who just went along with the Nazis so as to not cause problems. That's a lot of Americans. So it's hard for me to go up and say, hey, neighbor, you're a Nazi, because that neighbor is helping my mom out right now. And I don't even live there. How like, I can't go up to that neighbor. Yeah. Nobody in Nazi, like all the Nazis in Nazi Germany thought they were good people. Just like all the MAGA people think they're good people. When they're Nazis. So they want to say that Joe Biden is too old to run, but they don't even look at Donald Trump. Look at Donald Trump, dude. His mind is gone.
I think he should take a cognitive test like I did. I took a cognitive test and I aced it. Dr. Ronnie Johnson. Does everyone know Ronnie Johnson, Congressman
Jackson,
from Texas?
dude.
He was
So
the White House.
He's getting it wrong. So, in other words, he's saying Joe Biden should take a cognitive test, but he can't even think of his own doctor's name. maybe he needs to take a cognitive test. He always tells us he aces it. Like, he always says, like, man, woman, lights, camera, dog, or something. I forget what it was.
How good did at least Stepanakert. You know, we've endorsed Dr. Oz. We've endorsed JP, right? JD Mandel, and he's doing great. Jimmy Connors is good. He's also happy. Mike Bolton, John Bolton is here. Mike Bolton, as you know, is in Russia.
And there was progress today. I look forward to solving it.
Thank you, Steve. It was Trump's fault. It's always Trump's fault. Can it ever be like Rick Gates' fault? I mean, it's always Trump's fault, Rick. By the way, they never report the crowd on January 6th. You know, Nikki Haley, you know, did you know they destroyed all of the information, all of the evidence, everything? Deleted and destroyed all of it, because of
He's lying.
Lots of things, like Nikki.
He's lying. What do you mean they destroyed all the evidence? Why would they destroy all the evidence? Didn't Mike Johnson, like Speaker of the House, didn't he like campaign to release the January 6th tapes? All of them? And then once the tapes showed that Donald Trump's minions were committing crimes, he stopped doing it, and he wanted to blur their faces. They didn't delete all the evidence, you dumbass. That's Donald Trump, though. He's a liar. He lies as easily as he breathes.
Haley is in charge of security. We offered her 10,000 people.
That's
we
a
have
lie.
Some of our great business leaders, and leaders, period, right behind me. I may ask Marilyn Lockheed. We appreciate it very much, Tim Apple. Yes, please.
Tim Apple.
Thank you very much for your time.
You know what was interesting? Joe Biden won against Barack Hussein Obama. Has anyone ever heard of him? Arrest their leading political opponent, and leading by a lot, including Obama. I'll tell you what, you take a look at Obama and take a look at some of the things that he's done. And Putin, you know, has so little respect for Obama that he's starting to throw around the nuclear word today. You heard that, nuclear.
Thanks for giving your first comments on the bill on this show. It means a lot to us. We appreciate it, sir. Thanks a lot.
You have a deal. Thanks a lot. Bye.
Joe Bright, this guy is just the worst. So will Christian ever run for president against you? And you heard the prime minister, you heard, bet you know who. Maybe have Matt Blum speak next, because he's been so incredible in so many ways. He fights so hard. He loves his state. He loves the people. Think of it, a new branch of the United States military, United States Armed Forces, called Air Force. I never talked about that. That's something we never talked about. But what we just saw, we just left pleasure. A very big hello to a place where we've done very well, Sioux Falls. Thank you very much, Sioux Falls. Thank you. So, Sioux City, let me ask you, and the worst president in the history of our country who is cognitively impaired, we would be in World War II very quickly. The worst president in the history of our country will be a fading nightmare. He'll be I have fading memory.
Zombies. Look, I'm being attacked by zombies. So yeah, Donald Trump. If you want to talk about cognitive decline, look at Donald Trump. Of course, his followers don't care, right? That's the cult of personality. They don't care about truth. They only care about what Donald Trump says. For them, Donald Trump is the truth. For them, Donald Trump is the light. For them, Donald Trump is the source of life. Bribery. So, Snyder, a public corruption case I've been watching here. Blah, 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 blah. This is from Joyce Aline. The statute involved in Snyder, 18 U.S.C. 666, is commonly used for state actors who engage in fraud where federal funds are involved. These folks can't take bribes. Today, the Supreme Court said they can accept gratuities, payments, after the fact in consideration of official acts. Hole big enough to drive a truck through. In other words, you can't give them money before they make the decision. but you can give them money after they make the decision, as long as they make the correct decision in your eyes or whatever. So you can't bribe them first, you have to bribe them afterwards. Then you can bribe them, but you can't deliver until after they made until they deliver. They have to deliver first, then you can give them the money. And they do that because the next week they struck down the Chevron law, which is what they wanted. Like, man, I don't know. Like, why? The reason why they're being so egregious now, I think, is because this is their last chance. They're all in this time. They're all in. Because the demographics of the United States is such that white supremacists, white people are not going to have an absolute majority anymore. So they need to get rid of democracy before they lose the absolute majority of white people. That's why they do what they do. It's because we're on the cusp. We're on the cusp of creating a multiracial democracy. And they're doing everything they can to stop it. So, I mean, we have to defend our democracy. I mean, it's kind of a shitty democracy. I'll give you that. There's a bunch of problems with it. But it's a lot better than the fascism promised by Donald Trump and the Republicans. And yes, there's a lot of people who are on board with fascism. But that's because they're involved they're stuck in a cult of personality. They're brainwashed. They're like the Germans of Nazi Germany. Yeah, I don't know about the Italian fascists. I don't know what the deal was with them. But they sure took care of Mussolini after the war, right? So it wasn't all the Italians that were fascists. Ranked choice voting. Remember how I told you that so Confederates are opposed to democracy. They do not want democracy. They can't handle democracy. They want as little as possible. Ranked choice voting is a way to give more power to the voters. Ranked choice voting, right now in our voting system, we have what's called the first past the post system, which means it doesn't matter how many people are running in office. Whoever has the plurality of votes, you can only vote for one of them, and whoever gets the most votes is the winner. Well, that sucks if there's multiple people that you want to vote for and multiple bad people you would never vote for, because multiple candidates will split up your vote so that the majority of people could vote for candidates who espouse one particular view, but because their vote gets split up, the one guy on the other side who represents the opposite of your views will win the election. Like, that's the worst. You don't want that to ever happen. So in order to get rid of that, they came up with an idea called ranked choice voting, whereby the voter isn't limited to just voting for one person. The voter's vote is made more powerful and allows them to vote for many people by ranking them. So instead of voting just for one guy, you could say this person, number one, is who I want the most. But I would be okay with this person, and even this person would be okay. But this person, no, I would never vote for them. So in that way, it takes care of the spoiler effect. So you won't have spoilers. Like the entire campaign of what's his face? RFK Jr. His entire campaign is a spoiler. He wants to be a spoiler for Joe Biden. He's trying to take votes away from Joe Biden so that Donald Trump can win. But with ranked choice voting, he couldn't do that. It wouldn't work. Because you wouldn't have a choice only between Joe Biden and Donald Trump and RFK Jr. Instead, you could rank them. You could say, yeah, I prefer RFK Jr., but Joe Biden's okay. But I would never vote for Donald Trump. Or Marianne Williams. You could say, yeah, I prefer Marianne Williams, but Joe Biden's okay too. He's my number 2 choice. In that way, you can vote for the person who you really want to without giving your vote to the person you hate the most. So that's great, right? That empowers the voter. That gives more power to the voter, which is what you want in a democracy. You want the voter to have the most power. So you can look on this map. This map shows you the states where the people are working toward ranked choice voting, which gives more power to the voter. And look on this map. The states that have done this. Wrong one. The states that have done this are pretty much the liberal states, right? The states that are liberal, controlled by Democrats, are the ones that are moving toward giving more power to the voter. And the states controlled by the Confederates are the ones that have banned it outright, saying, no, voters do not get more power. That's the last thing that Confederates want. The last thing Confederates want is to give the voters more power. So they banned it. They say, no, you can never have more power as a voter. That just shows you the ideology of the Republican Confederates and the Democrats. Democrats want to give more power to the voters. Republican Confederates want to concentrate power into the hands of the elites. Remember, Donald Trump said in 4 years, if he ever takes power, there will be no more votes. He'll take care of it. You won't have to vote anymore after Donald Trump takes power because he'll get rid of voting. I'm just trying to make it clear for you that this is a very, very important election. Every election is important. And for some reason, it seems to be getting more and more important every election. But because the fascists are coming closer and closer to taking power and to dismantling democracy. That's why. Our institutions fail. Our justice institution failed to hold accountable rich white men who tried to overthrow democracy. So they're going to try again. The only people who could stop them are the people of the United States, the voters. That's the only ones left. Our institutions failed. I mean, I don't know. Maybe Judge Merchant is going to come out and imprison Donald Trump for his crimes. That would be a surprise. But I think the judge is a human. He doesn't want to get attacked by Donald Trump's minions. So I don't think he's going to do that. He's afraid for his family and for his own life. Can you blame him? Look what happened to Nancy Pelosi's husband. Some crazy dude tried to go murder him in his home. And then what happened? All the maggots were making fun of Paul Pelosi. They spread disinformation about the whole crime, because for them it's not a crime, right? If it goes against their political enemies, it's not a crime, because they don't believe in rule of law. They only believe in power, because they're fascists. Trump supporters are fascists. There's no other way around it. When you see a red hat, think of swastika. Because that's what it is. We don't see it now in the present, but in the history books, that's what it's going to be looked at as. They're going to be looked at as a swastika. All right, some good news. All right, so I have a unique position of employment in that I'm in a state agency that works for Social Security disability. And my employment history, I used to be an adjudicator for Social Security, a disability adjudicator, which meant like I reviewed the records and applied the rules of Social Security to determine if people were eligible for Social Security disability. That's what I used to do. So Republicans, as we know, Republicans are not friendly towards Social Security. They want to get rid of Social Security. But they never come out and admit it straight out. And they do it in such a way that you can't tell that that's what they've done. But if you work on the inside, you can tell. So, for example, when Donald Trump was president, he appointed a commissioner to Social Security. And this commissioner, this new commissioner of Social Security, changed the way Social Security did its work. Before, Social Security would prioritize people with new claims. Like it's a new person, they're coming in and they're saying, "Hey, I'm disabled. I need you to review my claim to see if I can receive disability." And that would be like the first thing that Social Security would do. That would be its priority. Now, once people get Social Security benefits, like it's not forever. Your case has to be reviewed. Oh, I'm out of food. Oh no, I'm not. Ha 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 ha. Your case has to be reviewed periodically. So the law is that every 7 years, people on Social Security get a review to see if their condition improved and if they're able to return to work. If their condition improved and they're able to return to work, according to Social Security, then they're kicked off of benefits. But that was a lower priority for Social Security than it was to check people who want to apply for it. Because eventually people on Social Security are going to die, right? Eventually they're going to die and they're not going to take Social Security anymore. But if you just got hurt and you're not able to work on, if you're disabled and you're not able to get Social Security, like the longer you don't have those funds coming in, the closer you inch toward homelessness. Like it sucks. It sucks not being able to work. It sucks. Like wanting to work, but physically not able to work. It sucks. So Social Security prioritized checking those claims first. However, Donald Trump came into office, and then Donald Trump, and he always says, "I'm not going to touch Social Security," but Donald Trump is a liar. Donald Trump lies. So when Donald Trump became president, he appointed a new commissioner to head of Social Security. And the new commissioner for Social Security changed the priority of what Social Security was doing. Before, Social Security would prioritize new claims and reconsideration claims. That was the priority. But with the new commissioner, he changed it. The new commissioner changed it to prioritize reviews. So no longer are we checking first the people who apply for Social Security disability. Now we're checking people who already have Social Security disability to see if we can kick them off. That was the priority. Who can you kick off of Social Security? That's what Donald Trump did when he appointed the new commissioner. That's how Republicans attack Social Security. Not by outright changing the program, but by changing the priorities of Social Security. So then, Social Security, instead of checking people out who apply for Social Security disability, instead they spent all their time reviewing people already getting disability to see if they could kick them off the rolls. So what did that mean? That meant that there was a huge backlog of people applying for Social Security disability. You could apply for disability but not get your case reviewed for like 2 years. Because we're so backlogged with doing these reviews for people already getting disability to see if we can kick them off. People working for Social Security do not want to kick people off of Social Security disability. It's not like they get a benefit from it. They don't get anything out of it, but that's what the bosses want. And so you got to do what the bosses want. If the commissioner says, see who can kick off Social Security disability, that's what you're going to do. You're going to review people's claims to see if they're still eligible. So what that meant was that there's this huge backlog of people applying for disability, and their claim is not getting reviewed. So not only are we not getting new people onto Social Security, but we're also trying to kick people off of Social Security that have already been there. That went on the entire time Donald Trump was president, because he was the one who got to make the, nominate the commissioner. And the commissioner did what Donald Trump wanted, which is to get rid of Social Security. This had the effect of having a great big backlog. Since we had such a huge backlog, what happened is, Oregon had to send its claims out of state to get reviewed by another state, because it didn't have, because it was falling behind. So busy trying to kick people off of Social Security that it had to send the claims for new claims to another state, which is no good, right? Because that just adds time to the amount of time it takes to make a determination. And other states don't have the same knowledge of Oregon that Oregon has of Oregon. So it's more difficult for another state to obtain medical records in Oregon, because they don't know any of the providers. They don't know any of the quirks of the providers. They don't have a database. They haven't been working with Oregon providers for years and years and years. So they don't have any of that. So invariably, not only is another state doing the initial disability review or claim, they're doing it not as good, because they don't have, or they're taking way more time because it's being done in another state. But then Joe Biden got into office, and then Joe Biden got a new commissioner, and the new commissioner went back to the old way. New commissioner said, look, if you're on Social Security disability, all right, we'll get to you eventually. Our priority is to look at the people who are just now applying. So that shows you how it really, really, really matters who is president, because Republicans can hamper Social Security in a way that's invisible to most people. Most people wouldn't even know about this. They have no idea. All they would know is, oh, my claim's taking years to get done, and now it's being done out of state, and they're angry because they don't know why it's happening. It's happening because that's what the Republicans want. But Social Security can't tell them that, because Social Security is a nonpartisan organization. So Social Security can't say anything about that to the people. All they can say is that we're doing our job. And technically that's what they're doing. They're doing their job according to what the commissioner wants, and the commissioner was appointed by whoever. So if you care about Social Security, if you want to keep Social Security, you don't vote for Donald Trump. People who want Social Security, who want to keep Social Security solvent, will not vote for Republicans. People who want to get rid of Social Security and Medicare, they will vote for Donald Trump. I mean, that's just the facts. All right, I've been going for an hour and a half. I think that's enough. Thanks for hanging out. Tomorrow we find out what the Supreme Court decides on Donald Trump. and like I said, I don't think they're going to make a straight decision, because they need to wait for the election to see if they should make the president king. So I think they're going to kick it back to lower courts to waste more time. Because the Supreme Court can't decide if the president's king until they know who the president is. If the president is Donald Trump, they'll say, yeah, president is king. If the president is Joe Biden, they'll say, no, president is not king. So, but the whole point of it was to delay the delay. The whole point of kicking it up to the Supreme Court was to delay it so Donald Trump didn't go on trial before the election. And he succeeded. His buddies in the Supreme Court waited as long as possible. They even had to add extra days to the Supreme Court in order to delay it even longer. That's how much they helped Donald Trump. So Donald Trump, the Supreme Court is corrupt at this point. It's a corrupt institution. The only way you can fix the Supreme Court is to impose term limits and to expand the size of the Supreme Court to like 30. Instead of 9, expand it to 30. That's the only way you're going to fix it. Otherwise, right now, it's corrupt. By the Republicans. By the fascists. Okay, America, until next... And remember, the reason why we're doing this, the reason why we're fighting, the reason why we're trying to preserve democracy is because we are moving to create the world's first multiracial democracy. Not just white people democracy, multiracial democracy. Where it doesn't matter what your race is. It doesn't matter what your belief is. It doesn't what your spirituality is. It doesn't matter what your sexuality is. What matters, it doesn't matter what your gender is. What matters is that you're a human being. That's what we're fighting for. Fascists don't believe in human rights. So that's what we're trying to protect. Okay, America, until next time. Pagokiro out. Peace. Stop.